In this section, I'm going to show you how transformations work. And you can see that I have a rectangle here and an axis here. This axis is going to be the mirror for me, and I'm going to mirror this rectangle on the other side. So what should I do? First of all, you should check to see if geometrical constraint is enabled, because if you enable this, what you mirror on the other side is going to have symmetry constraints. I'm going to speak about constraints later, of course, but here you will see that whatever I do to the original object, the mirror is going to replicate it. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to go to Insert, Operations, Transformations, Mirror, and then I will select this axis. You can see that the mirror of this, according to this axis, is created on the other side. And whatever I do to this one, because symmetries are enabled, for example, if I extend this line, you can see that it will affect the mirror of that. So I'm going to make this smaller, and you can see the mirror happens on the other side. I'm going to press Ctrl Z, and what I'm going to do is to double click on line command here, and I'm going to create 3 lines. One of them is like this, the other one is like this, and the other one is like this. Of course, I could achieve the same goal using profile command, but I just did it. Now what I'm going to do is to mirror these 2 items according to this axis and see what happens when I do that. This axis doesn't need to be so long, it just needs to have a direction, and that is the important thing. So I go and select these 2 first. I'm going to select this and press Ctrl key and select this, and then I go to Insert, Operations, Transformation, Mirror, and then I'm going to select this axis. You can see that the rectangle is going to be copied on this side, and the triangle is going to be copied on the other side. And again, you can see lots of symmetries. Again, these symmetries are here because constraints for geometrical constraint is enabled. If you disable this, nothing will happen, and everything will be like a normal mirroring on the other side. Now I'm going to press Ctrl Z to go back to where I was. I have selected these. I'm going to go and select a command that is very, very similar to mirror, but it does actually flip the object to the other side of the axis. It doesn't create a mirror. So I click on Symmetry and then click on this axis. You can see that the objects are going to be flipped to the other side, like you have a mirror of that, but the original object is not present. And this is exactly what symmetry does. Let's go to the other command. I'm going to go to Transformation, and this time I'm going to select Translate. Translating is kind of moving an object to another place, and of course you can have a copy of that object or multiple copies of that object. When I am creating a kind of an array, Translate is very, very useful for me. So I select the Translate, and you can see that the Translate definition is going to open. If I want to create an array, actually I will go and increase the instance numbers, but right now let's say that I am just moving this, and it says duplication is enabled. I don't want to duplicate this, so just disable this, and all the other objects are going to be disabled. And then I'm going to select the object. When I selected the object, it says what is the start point. You can select a base point on the object, inside the object, or outside the object. Let's say that I am moving this according to my coordinate system. So I select this, and now you can see that I can move it to wherever I wish. Let's say I'm going to move it 120 millimeters to the right, and click there. And because I hadn't chosen to have a copy of that, the actual object moves to there. I'm going to press Ctrl Z, and I'm going to select the object first this time before going to that Translate command. And now what I'm going to do is to enable duplicate mode. What I want to do is to have, let's say, 5 instances of this, and it says keep internal constraints. If there is any constraint, I can keep it. Keep external constraints, for example the constraint between this and an object that is present there. Let's say, for example, a parallel constraint or a symmetry constraint. they are external constraint. I don't have any constraint actually, so I don't really want them. And it says keep original constraint mode. Again, I can keep them, but right now I don't really care about that. So I have selected the instances. Then it asks me about the base point. Let's say I'm selecting this point as the base point. And as soon as I do that, I can move it to right, up, down, whatever I want. And also I can select to have the value right here. I want to have 40 millimeters of displacement for each item. So I press enter and you can see that now it asks me about the direction. Let's say I'm going to have horizontal direction. So I just select this one and click, and you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 objects is created. The actual object is still there, and I have created kind of an array of this object. Okay, let's press Ctrl Z, and I'm going to show you some other command. If I go to Operation, Transformation, now I am going to select Rotate. Rotate is very easy. You can see that my object is already selected. Now again, I can have a copy of what I have, or I can rotate the actual object. I'm going to have a copy of this. So what I'm going to do is to have a duplicate mode. And how many copies do I want? I can have, let's say, 4 copies, right? And it is kind of a circular array. So I can keep the constraints, but right now I don't really have any constraint. Then it says, what is the center point of your rotation? Let's say that I am going to select this coordinate system 0, 0 as the center of rotation, but I can have it on the object, inside the object, or outside the object. So I'm going to select this, and so I'm creating, let's say, 5 more. So I have 60 degrees of angle between each one of them, and right now you can see a preview of what I have here. And again, it says what is the start point of rotation, start angle of rotation. I prefer to have it at 0, and then go on, and you can see that I have 60 degrees of rotation like this, and click OK. So this is the rotation, and the next thing that I want to speak about, I'm going to press Ctrl Z one more time, is gonna be the scaling. So I select the scaling, and the scaling means that again I can make this bigger or smaller, and this bigger or smaller can create a copy or can affect the actual object. Which one do you want to have? You can select to have duplicate mode. This time I don't want to have duplicate mode. What is the base point for this scaling? You can select it on the object, inside the object, or outside the object. I prefer to have it on the corner of this object, and how much it should be, I can go on and on. I want to make it about 2 times bigger, so I have this, and you can see that based on the point that I selected, it became 2 times bigger. And the next command is an interesting command. I'm going to show you how you can create offsets of an object. So let's create something here. I want to create a rectangle that is about, let's say, 200 millimeters. And what I'm going to do is to remove these constraints. I don't really want them because they are not going to do anything here. And what I'm going to do is to go to Insert, Operation, Offset command from Transformation, of course. And Offset has multiple options here. I'm going to go with Simple Offset. I'm going to select this line, and then I'm going to create, let's say, 8 instances of this, and the offset is going to be 20 millimeters on the inside. So I just move my cursor inside and then press enter. You can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 instances are created for me. Now all of them have some kind of dimensioning in between. So I press Ctrl Z and I activate the command one more time. So I go to Operation, Transformation, Offset. This time I'm going to go to this option. It says tangent propagation. So if I have some tangencies, I can change them. Let's say that before this, I'm going to activate corner. I'm going to create a simple corner here. Okay. And then I go and select offset command. If I click on offset command and I select this line, that is a curved line, you can see that by selecting this, as a matter of fact, all the tangent lines are going to have an offset. So I select to have, for example, one instance, and here, and I click on this, and you can see that tangent line is going to be selected here. Sometime I can select the objects that are tangent to that. Let's do that. This time I'm going to select the whole object and then go to insert operation, transformation, offset. I'm going to select tangents is enabled. You can see that by selecting the normal offset, it's going to create a normal offset. If I select tangent enabled, right now it's going to select only the tangents lines that have a tangency enabled on that. So I click on that, and you can see, although I selected the whole object, only the objects that had a tangency constraint were chosen for this offset. I'm going to press Ctrl Z and again go to this command, offset command, and this time I'm going to select the other item, point propagation. By selecting point propagation, anywhere that I have a point, the adjacent lines are going to be selected. Right now I have lots of points and I have selected all of them, so this means that all of the lines are going to be propagated. So I can click here and finish the offset. Now the next thing, you can see that where I clicked, there is a point here. I'm going to press Ctrl Z and show you one more option here. If I go to transformation offset, this time I'm going to select equidistance, something like creating two of an object. I select this, and you can see that as soon as I move my cursor away, I see one copy on one side and another copy on the other side. So this creates, as a matter of fact, two of them. And the final thing, I don't want to click here really, because I just wanted to show you, and you get the idea. And the last thing that I want to mention is the number of instances that you're going to create. If you select to have two of them, it's going to create two. So I hit enter, and now by moving this, you can see that, let me press enter here, and it's going to create two offset for me. So I click here. Because I selected both sides, you can see that two of them are created on the outer side and two of them are created on the inner side. And the last thing that I want you to see is offset of spline. So I create a spline here. So this is my spline. And if I go to operations, transformation, offset, and select this, you can see that by creating an offset, something interesting happens. If I move it out, the offset is going to have the control points of the original object, and you can see that by moving it, the control points are going to take effect on the offset of this. So I click on that, and you can see that the offset is created, and the control points have changed the bend like this here and like this here.